Okay, last night was something different. I had a dream which really felt more like an experience, and it was multi-layered, like multi-dimensional. Like all of the aspects of this dream were happening all at once instead of linear or sequentially in my dream. I first began the night, well, this is February 4th, 2023 is when the dream came in this morning, like around 3:30 this morning. I woke up and I had to go to the bathroom, so I woke up to go to the bathroom, and then when I came back into the room, I noticed that my white candle, I always keep one white candle burning, always, purity, for protection, and I always keep one tall pillar candle burning, and the candle was burning, and the candle wasn't burning, and that's what I noticed, because I have also battery operated white candles around my room and around my home, and those are, you have the remote and you can put them on for 4 hours, for 8 hours, or whatever, cut them off. So I always set mine for 8 hours when I'm getting ready to go to bed at night. So those were still burning, those were still on, but the actual pillar candle was not lit, and neither was my incense. So I went to the bathroom when I came back, and then I noticed that this essential thing in my life was not burning. I relit it, and I relit the incense, and then I decided to put on a mantra. And this mantra is to neutralize all negative energy in your environment, around you in your environment. And I'm probably going to butcher the name of it, but it's from Baba Suri Chand, and it's the Mukadi Chand. The Mukadi Chand. So I probably butchered it. I'll put the correct spelling of the chant in the description. And I put this on, and then I went back to bed. It was about, 3:33, 3:34 by the time I did all of that and got back into bed. And then the dream pursued. Then it was the multi-layer dream. First level of the dream, I wrote it all down. It's all in my dream journal. I'm trying to remember every detail. I don't have my dream journal with me. The first level of the dream, I remember I had been bringing in groceries, and my mom was there, but I didn't see my mom, but it's like I knew my mom was there in the home, and my mom's long passed away, and I was bringing in the groceries and setting them on top of the chest freezer and into the refrigerator. That's the first part of the dream. So bringing groceries in, setting them there, and then at the same time in this dream, I guess in another dimensionality of the dream, I would just consider me telling this dream, just consider this stacked, first stack, second stack, third stack of the dream. They're just stacked on top like that, not with spacing, but stacked like that. And then the second component of the dream, I was in a park area, like we are now in a park area. I took the dogs to the park to walk, and there's lots of people, everybody's living their lives, doing their thing in the park. And then I noticed this guy. He's on this hybrid, kind of like a motorcycle and a scooter in one. But it's different. It's like a hybrid. It's like a blackish gray color. It's techie looking. And he stopped me, and he asked me to help him. I was like, oh, what's going on? What can I do? And he said that he couldn't get it started. And I said, well, isn't this your bike? How can you can't get it started? He goes, it's a test vehicle. and he just doesn't know how to get it started. So I was like, okay, I guess maybe when I walk by, maybe I look technical at him. I don't know. And I started fiddling on the machine. Then I went to the front of it, and I was joking with him. I was like, well, where do you sit? And he was laughing. I was like, well, where does one sit on this? And then I realized that it must be some type of scooter type of thing where you literally stand on it. He didn't really look stand height to me, especially if he was tall, and he was tall. So, and I could have sworn when I approached him that he was trying to sit on it, or he was sitting on it, but I don't know. But that's what he said, and it looked like a scooter in the bottom part of it. So I went to the front part, where the wheel housing is, and then I saw these 2 circles, but Thor Kame. And I took my fingers and I pressed both circles simultaneously, and then the thing cut on. I was like, that's how you do it. You have to press that for it to cut on. And then when I did that, he was really happy. And then I noticed this lady was walking, pushing a stroller. And it wasn't it must be another dog in the area. He goes crazy. And it was not like a regular smaller stroller. It was like the bigger strollers, like the carriage strollers, like when I had my daughter 33 years ago, the carriage type of stroller. So the baby was in a carriage type of stroller, and he was walking, and then something weird happened with the stroller, and it seemed like the baby, like these tentacles, came down to the stroller and like lifted the child out of the stroller and took the child away, and everybody was freaking out. The mom was freaking out, people in the park were freaking out, and I was like, what the hell? So I ran, and I think I wrestled the child from the black tentacles, and when I pulled the child back, the child was so pretty. It was a little white babe. It was a little white girl, and she had like a reddish blonde hair, and she was just really super cute. And I pulled her back. She's like maybe like about a 2-year-old, and I pulled her back, and I gave her to her mom. And then her dad appeared at that point, and they were really overjoyed to have her back. And then that level ended, and it was like still a lot of confusion because people didn't understand what those black tentacles were that just like came and scooped the child out of the carriage. But that carriage would have been too small for, like, this child was at least like a 2, 3, maybe even a 4-year-old by the time I pulled her back from the tentacles. So that's like some type of time differentiation that happened there, that from the carriage, which if you got somebody in a carriage, it's like less than a 2-year-old, even the big carriages, it's like a 2-year-old or less. But when I grabbed the baby, wrestled the baby back, the baby was like a toddler, so that it was like about almost a 4-year-old child that I wrestled back, and she was happy. She didn't see damage from the interference of the black tentacles. Then, stacked on top of that one, next, I'm in a room, and I'm with friends or family. Everybody seemed very close, and we're sitting at a rectangular table, has a white tablecloth and dinner settings, really pretty. And I'm sitting, so say the rectangle is facing this way. I'm sitting on the left hand, and then there's somebody at the head of the table. I don't think there was anybody at the farthest end of the table at the head. Everybody else was sitting on the right hand side. And I noticed I had like this cute little bag. It was like a cute little bag, like an insulated bag. And inside the bag there was flowers, like dressed in like a vinaigrette. And I was like, oh wow, this salad is awesome. Then on the plate there was some more flowers. So I took some flowers out of this little serving bag, and I put them on my plate, and I was like, wow, because it seemed like I had never eaten flowers before. I mean, it was straight flowers. One was a blue daisy with like maybe like a yellow center, and then there was another white lily or white daisy on my plate. Now, my favorite flower is a Shasta daisy. So I'm not surprised that it was daisies that I was eating. And they was on my plate, and I was chit-chatting with the people at the table, and I was like, oh, look, there's a vinaigrette. Everybody should try it. So I remember I believe I used a fork, some type of eating utensil, and I got the daisy, the blue daisy off the plate, and I popped it in my mouth. And I remember crunching down, chewing it, and it was like a taste I never had experienced before, but it wasn't unpleasant. It was kind of good. So I was like, oh, this is delicious. And then I had immediately planned to eat the white lily or daisy on my plate amongst the other ones. I had planned to go for that one next. And then all of a sudden, this woman, or being of a woman, burst into the room. Oh, I didn't mention. In the room, it was a rectangular table with the tablecloth and the place settings, and everybody had flour salad on their plates. There was no meat that I could see on the table at all. And there were 3 windows, long windows from like maybe ceiling to almost floor level windows. 3 windows. 1, 2, 3. And they were like behind me, since I was sitting on the left and everybody else was on the right. And then, and it was full sunshine in the room. I didn't mention that. It was full sunshine in the room. It was sunny. It was light. It felt like, family and friends, and just enjoying a meal together, chit-chatting, having a good time. It was like everybody was having a good time until this woman burst into the room. She burst into the room, and she's got a girl with her, like a plumpy little black girl. I would say she's like maybe about the age of, I don't know, anywhere between 8 and 10 years old. And she's like really not nice to this little girl. She's bringing this girl in, and she's basically pulling her by her hair. Now her hair is all disheveled. It's like, and it's kind of like going straight up and disheveled, and horrible. Like, I wouldn't let my child walk out the house looking like that. And she just grabbed her by the arm into the room, and you could see kind of fear in the little girl's eyes. And I was like pissed. I was like, first of all, why the fuck are you walking in here like this? Like, you own this joint. So she walked in, and then she sat on the left-hand side, but not at the table with us. She sat in a chair outside of the perimeter of the table, and then the little girl was sitting next to her, but kind of a little in front of her. So she could pretty much control what this little girl was doing, and she could keep her going with her hair. And when she walked into the room, and when she sat down, when she was coming in the room, she did something so that all these long drapes covered all 3 windows. And the drapes, with the sunlight that had been streaming in prior, the drapes were red. So now the light flooding the room was like this blood red. It was like blood red, like vampire Dracula blood red into the room. And I was pissed. I was incensed that, how dare you, first of all, intrude upon this gathering, drag this poor disheveled, scared child into the room, and then take my sunlight away. So at the table, I stood up, and when I stood up with the fury, like righteous indignation. I stood up and I yelled out, I am not a child of darkness. I am a child of the light, and I will have light. And when I did that, the drapes that flew away from the windows, all 3 at the same time. I didn't touch them. They just like either telekinetically I moved them with my mind or with my sheer will or whatever, but they just flew open. And then all that red was gone, and it was just pure sunlight streaming into the room. It was like the joy came back in the room. It's like when that woman came in, she brought the darkness, the blood, the hatred, the pain, the miseries, like all of that came with her. And when I did that, she was just pissed. She was angry. And she had that child saying, what are you doing with that child? I said, I'm a child of the light. And I looked at that child, and I could see like the sunlight made like a bar over the little girl's eyes. So you could it was like highlighting her eyes, and you could see the fear. But she was totally controlled. It's like she couldn't just like pull away from the woman and just run for her life or run to me for help. It was like she was totally controlled, but the only part of her that still existed inside of her was in her eyes. So she was looking at me, and I can see the fear, the sadness, the confusion. It was just all there in her eyes, screaming for help. And I think at this point, since I was already standing up, I was going to approach the woman with the child, and I was going to wrest this child from her, kind of like I wrested the other child from the black tentacles, and then I woke up. So I actually didn't get to rescue that little girl, that little, I don't know, 8 to 10-year-old girl. I didn't get to rescue her, but I saw her pain, I saw her fear in her eyes. And she was like totally controlled. She was like a puppet. And this woman, this being, I just have a feeling it wasn't like a woman. It was something else in the guise of humanity that was controlling that child. And I don't know what on the next step up from that experience, what those tentacles were, but they were everywhere, and they were like just coming in like that. It came in and it just grabbed her out of her stroller, out of the carriage, and she just went up. And everybody else was like in fear. I was the only one that took action to wrest that child from this perceived danger. So this morning, once I wrote everything down, and I grabbed the dream book, which really didn't do me much good. When I go home, I'm gonna Google some things. The things that stand out to me are the black tentacles, the blue daisy. Like, of all the flowers that was on my plate, I ate the blue daisy, and I was going to eat the white one. So I guess the color blue, the yellow of the inside of the blue daisy, and then the white daisy. I don't know what center it had because it was kind of like facing down on the plate, so I just saw the petals. So I'll just look for white or ivory or off-white. And the plates were gold. I mean, it was just a beautiful place setting. It was like a beautiful experience for people to get together and enjoy. People who know me know I love to cook, I love to bake, I love presentation. So, you know, that part of that experience didn't faze me at all. The beauty of the experience of sharing a meal with others. That's just part of me. But I did like the way that, oh my God, when I stood up, I felt, it was like I drew the light up from my feet. It was like I drew Gaia's energy up through me. And when it came up through me, it's like I channeled Gaia's love and the love of the sun and the need to have the sun. And I channeled it up. And when I said, I am not a child of darkness, I am a child of the light. And when I said of the light, it's just like that energy released, and it parted those dark drapes, and all that red color immediately fled away, and it was just all back to the super sunshiny sunlight. I mean, when the sunlight was streaming through these windows, it was just white, bright beautifulness, and then you could see the colors of the flowers and how beautiful they were. And right now, as I'm talking about it, the flowers make me think of fairies and that type of lightness. And then the lightness of the actual sun shining in the room. And when the sun shines in the room, not like when sun shines in our rooms and then you can see all the little dust particles and things in the sunlight. This was not like that. It was just pure light shining in. It was beautiful. It was like food of the gods coming in, and it just nourished everything in the room except for that dark, let's just call her a dark entity that had the child in its grips. So I'm thinking that all of these layers of the same dream, since it has to do with like families, you know, the people in the parks, the families, through consciousness, humanity, my desperate desire to just protect all children. And I also have like a Superman complex. I just feel like I have to save everyone all the time, and no man or child gets left behind. That's a part of this level of me that I'm working on, because you can't save everyone. Everyone doesn't want to be saved, so I know I have to work on that. So that's got to be an aspect of that dream. But I also feel that something about the rectangle table and the way that it was so beautifully presented, and I've never in my life dreamt of, I don't think I've ever dreamt of flowers, period, but I've never dreamt of having eaten a flower. I mean, I think I've had some rose petals on some desserts that I've made, or some carnations, because you can eat carnations with rose petals, but I never ate a daisy. At least not a real daisy. So I don't know. So I'm gonna hit the internet. I'm gonna try to see if I can see what a lot of collective is saying about some of these things, how they interpret them. The book I had really wasn't. It's like a whole dictionary, and it's just had nothing for me. Wasted my money. So yeah, I'm gonna hit the internet and try to decipher that dream. So I think it was important. And the fact of the matter is that because I woke up and went to the bathroom, noticed that my white protective candle was out, relit my incense, which I think that incense was fairy dust. I think that incense stick was called fairy dust. I think that's the one that didn't burn all the way. So the fairy dust, and then I have the fairy-like dream with the flowers and the sunlight. So, and then I had the protective mantra going on in the background. So I'm sure all of that played into this multidimensional experience. It was very lifelike. It wasn't like a dream. It's like I knew my abilities, and I knew what I could do. I knew that I could help, and I didn't not help. So I did help the guy with the hybrid vehicle. I did help the baby that had got basically abducted by the tentacles, and I had intended to help the little girl that the woman being had, but I think I had expended so much energy in my righteous indignation and bringing back the sunlight that my physical needs to have to go to the bathroom woke me up out of that dream too soon, and I didn't get a chance to save the little dog. Oh, this is Thor acting crazy because somebody's walking their tiny little dog. He just goes nuts for little dogs. This big old husky. Thor, come here. Cut your mommy. Thor, cut your mommy. You want some? You want some? Come here. You want some? He ain't caring about me when he sees that little dog. That's sad. That's sad. That's so sad, Thor. You want some? Thor, you want some? He's still staring. He's such a... Cut your mommy. You want some? Usually he comes if he sees me with anything in my hand. Come, Thor. Stop being such a baby. You want some? Here, I got a treat. You want a treat? Come, get a treat. Come on, come, get a treat. You furry beast. That's so sad. Wow. You guys gotta howl. You gotta howl. Seriously, Thor. It's just the dog is like a little tiny terrier. Anyway, so that's the dream that happened to me this morning, or I'll say experience. It was multidimensional. It was stacked in layers. It was one on top of the other, happening at the same time. So they were all three happening at the same time. But this is how my brain broke it down to be able to explain it. But everything was happening all at once, like that movie. Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's how this experience was. Interesting. So I would love for someone who does dream analysis to like pick this apart. I'm just picking it apart myself, deciphering my own crazy experience. But I think that the candle, the mantra, and the incense all played a part of this somehow, helped to contribute to it. But anyway, that's it. That's this stream. That's this time. Thank you for watching. Angel Lori signing out for today.